Hi everybody, this is my daughter Ayala. She's going to be helping me. She's posing as a pregnant woman and I'm going to be explaining to her how birth happens anatomically. So, basically the muscles and bones of the pelvic area support the baby and the uterus as the baby grows during pregnancy. The uterus surrounds the baby during this time. The cervix is part of the uterus, but it's made up of different tissue.
I'm sorry, now I'm gonna.
Well, I'm just going to keep going because I'm not taking two here. So basically, the cervix is thick and closed during pregnancy. During the last few weeks of pregnancy, it begins to become thin and open. When it becomes thin, this is called effaced. When it becomes open, it's becoming dilated. So once it's at 10 centimeters dilated, the baby can make its way from the cervix into the vagina and out the vagina. So inside the vagina, there are folds called rugae, and they unfold during labor. There are a few things that your body does to prepare for labor the last few weeks of your pregnancy. One of them is it secretes hormones that help to relax all of your ligaments and joints. So that's part of the reason a lot of pregnant women have like back pain and knee pain and things like that. But it's really helpful because it opens the pelvic area up and prepares it for the baby to pass through. Another thing that happens, a sign of labor approaching, is the baby's head may go down into your pelvic area. It's called engagement. And when that happens, you might feel more relief, like in your diaphragm area. You can breathe, take deeper breaths, you can eat more, you may have more room in your stomach. You'll also feel more pressure on your bladder area. Let's see, another thing that might happen is you may lose what is called your mucus plug, and that is like you'll have blood-tinged mucus. That is actually the plug that was keeping your cervix closed and sealed throughout your pregnancy. Your waters may rupture, so your membranes may rupture, and usually labor follows that within a day. You might have Braxton Hicks contractions, which are basically like practice contractions for your uterus. You might have those like throughout your pregnancy, but becoming more frequent at the end. And they're not the same as contractions you'll experience during actual labor because they are really inconsistent. So there's basically 3 stages to labor. There's the first stage, which is called latent, and that is when your cervix is dilating to 10 centimeters. The second stage is when you're pushing the baby out, and the third is when the placenta comes out. So after your placenta comes out, we'll let the cord pulse for a couple minutes so that the baby receives all of that oxygen and blood from the placenta. And then we'll clamp and cut the cord, in which time you can begin breastfeeding. That'll signal your body to produce oxytocin, which will help to constrict blood vessels from where the placenta was expelled from the uterus and stop the bleeding there, and just to get your uterus back to its original shape. So do you have any questions?
What if my water breaks and I don't go into labor?
Typically you will go into labor after your water breaks within a day. Sometimes up to 3 days. It's pretty rare for that to happen, for you not to go into labor if your water breaks. If that were the case, we could monitor the baby's health and make sure that infection doesn't happen, because that would be the number one concern. Sometimes people do need to get induced if too much time goes on and the health of the baby is suffering. Anything else?
What if I start dilating before my due date? Will I go into labor?
Just because you're dilated doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go into labor. It's not a very good sign because a lot of people dilate like weeks before labor, so that's not really a good way to tell. It differs person to person. Anything else?
Nope. I'm ready.
Okay. Thanks, guys.